it had to have been David Gilliland at Kentucky.
Might I ask, why is that not higher?
Just because I felt the other four were more important.
More important? Okay.
Or not more important.
I'm just asking to elaborate because
the reason I put him at number 5 is because it was the Busch Series. I just think I think it was I suppose it could have gone either way. It could have been a little higher. I just think that was a pretty big upset. The fact that almost the same situation, just in the Busch Series. So, but that was my number 5. It could have been higher, but I think the Busch Series was part of my reasoning for that.
Gotcha. My number 4.
And what year was that, by the way? Was that 06?
Yes.
Okay, I was just making sure.
My number 4 is from 2001. It was the final race of the season, even though it wasn't scheduled to be at Loudon. It was when Robbie Gordon won his first career race, driving for Richard Childress Racing. Part of it is because Robbie had been dabbling in NASCAR for about 5 years at that point and had never really shown any real promise. He was one of those open wheelers and all that. He was driving basically part-time for a Childress team that had never won, because that was the 31 team, and they had never won a race as a team, with Mike Skinner driving for about the same amount of time Robbie Gordon had been in NASCAR. He beat basically the guy the champion from that year. And you can say beat, or you can say knock it out of the way, which might not be considered beating, but I consider it to be a fairly decent upset. It was an upset because of the team, only in the sense that Childress hadn't quite figured out the multi-car thing yet. He does. They've got it pretty well down now, but they hadn't figured it out at that time. So I would say it was. That's why I would say it was number 4.
That was my number 4.
Oh, okay.
So
you can't put it any more different than that.
No, other than I can agree with you, and I think what also made it kind of an upset was, I mean, that was just a weird race. Did you watch that race?
I jumped in like with about 100 laps to go.
It was just a weird race because
of it.
the other Gordon dominated that race, and so that added to it a little bit. And when
that
everybody
was the year when Jeff Gordon was dominating that year, he won.
Yeah, and you just think the other thing with that is, you just think when you thought Robbie Gordon, still I think you think road course. So that's I think that it was definitely an upset.
We still do. That hasn't changed. Yeah. It's like 10 years later.
Yeah, so I definitely think that was an upset.
Okay, my number 3 is Jamie McMurray winning his second career start at Lowe's Motor Speedway, and the reason it's not higher is because it was his second career start, and that was the big deal. But he was driving a car that, if it had its normal driver in it, would have won. This is a full-time team that could have won the championship that year if Sterling Marlin didn't get injured. They had won at this track the year before. It was a good car, it was a good chassis. All he had to do was not screw it up, pretty much, and he didn't, and that's why they won.
Yep.
And if you notice, McMurray hadn't exactly lit the world on fire since then.
Not since then, nope.
It took him like 6 years to win another race.
And that win was also one of those possible throwouts. My number 3 was Kevin Harvick at Atlanta in 2001.
Okay.
Now, I would say that my number 3, it's number 3 for some of the same reasons that you just said about McMurray. I think that was a decent team. Running, I mean, maybe not even, it wasn't the top of the game like the 40 was in 2002, but I think that it was his third career race, and it was just, I really do think it was a rather hefty upset.
It's not on my list because...
Oh, it's not even on your list, really?
On my list. It's because that team had come out of season. They were hyped as the team that was going to win the championship that year. That was the view on that team. And not only that, in the years since, Harvick has proven to be a steady, if not spectacular, driver. So we know Harvick has the talent to have pulled that off, and it was kind of fluky in how he wanted the photo finish and all that. So I mean, a lot of it seemed like luck, and a lot of it seemed predetermined by the fact that they had a great team around them.
Yeah.
My number 2 is David Gilliland at Kentucky, and I think you're vastly underselling that race because that was not. We're talking about Keselowski's team and how they're part-time. This was a part-time Busch team going against Cup teams in the Busch Series, and this is a guy that had never won a race before, had never even gotten the top 10 before. I mean, this is a team that should have even qualified, much less won. And that's why it's number 2. It is the second biggest upset in NASCAR history, and it was at the time, and I think it still is. And also, time changes how you view it. Gilliland has proven to not be that great of a driver, and makes it even bigger an upset that he was able to win with that team at that time.
That's true. Perhaps I should have left it a little higher. My number 2 was Jamie McMurray at Charlotte.
Yeah.
So pretty much not much more to say on that. Now, I have a feeling before you say your number 1.
Are we going to agree?
I have a feeling that there might be a chance that we agree.
I think we're going to agree. I said it Sunday, and I'll say it again right now. Brad Keselowski winning at Talladega was the biggest upset in NASCAR history, by far.
That wasn't my number 1 actually.
No, then you fail.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Because that was without a doubt. Because he did what Gillen did on the cup level. That was the difference.
Yep, I 100% agree. I think that
all these other upsets. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No
but
problem.
all the other upsets basically are unknown drivers with good teams. These last 2, my top 2, were unknown drivers with unknown teams, doing it against the big boys.
And you could make, now that I think about it, you could make a legit argument for David Gilliland leaping. I mean, the fact that it's the Busch Series hurts that.
That's why it's not number 1, and that's also. I would say the teams are about on par. I would say Phoenix Racing has more sponsorship than, because Phoenix Racing has a full-time Busch team. That's what they are. They're a full-time Busch team that dabbles in Cup. So that's where the ride came from.
But you did. You said it about a minute and a half after the race that it was the biggest upset.
It was by far, and that's why you say somebody compared it to the Super Bowl. Not even close. It was an upset, sure, but the Super Bowl, the Giants, by being in the game, had a chance to win. But Keselowski, when you didn't even know Keselowski was in the game, and he won. That's how crazy it is. It's like what was that guy's name on the Masters a few years ago that looked like Joaquin Phoenix? I can't remember his name, but it's like that guy you didn't even know was playing in the Masters, and he won.
Yeah, that's a very good example. I don't remember either, but yeah, I think it was a huge race, and I think it was good for the sport. I bet it draws some people in. Like, oh, that's really cool, and I bet he gains a ton of fans.
Yeah. So that's wrapping up this week's racing and stuff. Quick, we want to say the same things we do every week. I want to thank FVTV, Bonzi Community College, Mike Reynolds, everybody. Also, Mike Lotta for, again, thanking him for guesting last week and for directing for us pretty much every week and being here.
Thanks, Mike.
I also I'm gonna thank Chris Klavinsky because he told me he didn't want to be thanked. He runs Bonzi Community College, the TV department, so I'm gonna thank him as well for making this possible. You want to hit us up with that YouTube?
Yeah, don't forget. We are, of course, on iTunes, which is probably where you might be listening to us. Just go to the podcast section of iTunes and search Racing and Stuff. Also, we are on YouTube. So you might be viewing us from there. You can see us at youtube.com/Racing and Stuff. Pretty easy. We're right there.
RACIN, no G.
Yeah, Racin in stuff.
Or as you can see behind us if you're watching us.
Yeah, and the website's been designed and redesigned and everything, so it looks pretty good. And then also you can, if you have any questions,
comments, suggestions,
telling us that we're awesome, because we are,
or telling me that I need to put a sock in it, or Mike might just email me to complain about me, what I say about basketball.
Yeah, you can it's Racin, once again, RACIN and stuff @gmail.com. Real original, right? So you can hit us up that way.
Easy to remember.
Yeah, easy to remember. So you can hit us up that way.
So yeah, I hope people are listening. Hope they're and I'd love to see some feedback and all that, and maybe some comments, even if it's nasty. Bring it on. I can take it.
And if you're lucky enough and you're nasty, wait, I don't want to say that. I mean, you're mean enough, maybe you'll be on the air.
Yeah, we'll just have to edit it out. So as normal, I'm Doug,
and I'm Chris.
We'll talk to you later.